Hi guys, it's James from Team Calamity here, and today we have got a deck profile with our very own Rich. He is showing us his Sorta mono water. He went undefeated in the tournament today. I played it against myself and got absolutely destroyed, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how this works. So whenever you're ready, Rich, take it away.
Alright, perfect. We'll start with the forwards. I'm going to talk about them in a slightly weird order, not CP order, just because there's a lot of combos to talk about. So I'm going to start off with Cagnazzo. He's a free block. He offers protection against a forward when they play Shemhazai, and he's quite difficult to deal with. If you're using him to block every turn, it's really difficult for them to kind of get him off the board. So he's really good. He helps stall the game out so you can establish the combo pieces that you have. Next up is, I'll talk about all these at the same time. We've got 4 Yunas, 3 legendary, 1 starter, and 3 Lennes. Obvious function is to party attack as them and then dig out either a Bahamut or a 7-drop Odin. Play it for free onto the field, you break Lenne in the process. The reason why the starter Yuna's there is just if you're in a situation where you lose a Yuna early and then see one go into the break zone and there's only one left in like 40 cards, it's a really difficult position to be in. She's a key card of the deck. The effect still goes off if it's the starter Yuna, so there's no reason not to do it, but you could just play a 3-3 split. And that's it. Next up is there's 2 Yuge. It's kind of essential to the deck because you don't because of the search function and how it works with Lenne, you can only pick out the summons from your deck. So you don't want to be drawing Bahamuts, you don't want to be drawing 7-drop Odins. So his function is you play him and then the summon goes back in the deck and then you can then search it up with the Lenne. Alternatively, if you're playing multiple Emperors, which I would do if I had multiple Emperors, if you have one in the field and have one in your hand, you can then replace it, put it back in the deck, and then he's not trapped in your hand. Next up is 1 Emperor. I really want to make it a 2-off card, but I don't have a second one, but when I get a second one I will use it, just because it helps shut down really, really popular cards like Cloud, like Warrior of Light, like Death Penalty Vincent. And also with Earth, it stops them from boosting their forwards any higher with Monk or anything like that. So he works really, really well. Not essential, but I like him as a card. I'd probably play him as 2-off. Next up, I'll talk about them together, is 2 1-drop Rosas and 2 legendary Cecils. The purpose of the deck is to have Cecil on defensive duty and just make him as huge as possible, and Rosa helps achieve that. She gives him 1,000 extra power and she can reduce the damage that he takes by 1,000. You'll probably be swinging through with Yuna and Lenne, you know, nearly every turn, or other big forwards like Ultimecia, so Cecil is your sort of guard against it, along with Minwu and 1-drop Leviathan, but I'll talk about those later. Cecil is just ridiculous for what he does. No damage taken by forwards for summons or abilities, which is hilarious. But the key thing is that he gives your other forwards 1,000 power, which is really relevant with Yuna, because when you party attack with Lenne and summon a big summon, Lenne breaks and Yuna's just attacking on her own, so you want to make her as big as possible, so that your opponent either can't block her or really reluctantly blocks her and loses something in the process. You don't want to swing with Yuna and Lenne and lose both cards as a result. But we do have a card that offers compensation if that does happen. Next up is 3 Ultimecia. Really, really cool card with this deck. It's mostly for the turn after you've Bahamuted. They're going to try and re-establish their forwards on the field, and if you've got Ultimecia down, it sets them behind another turn, unless they've got a way of activating it, so it doesn't really work that well against Wind, because they have things like Ashura and 2-drop Opus 2 Riku and stuff like that. Lots of reactivation, but for the vast majority of decks it will set them back another turn, and that can, you know, be 2, 3, maybe 4 points of damage for you. 3-off isn't necessary. I'd probably drop her to 2 if I had 2 Emperors, because you rarely ever use the S effect to any good effect. And the last forwards are 3 controversial starter Tiduses and 1 legendary Tidus. Having played today, I'd probably now try and change this to a 2-2 split. Legendary Tidus for Blitz Ace, because endgame it's ridiculous. And if you establish a strong board with Cecil on defensive duties, you'll have a lot of forwards out like the Cagnazzo and the Rosa, and then all of a sudden your Tidus is huge. And then 1,000 from Cecil and 1,000 from the water backup. So he's really, really cool. The main reason why I've gone with 3 starter is to offer that compensation. So if you do crash Yuna into something and she dies in the process, you draw 2 cards, which, you know, is relatively fair compensation considering you just played a Bahamut for free as well. It's not an effect that you want to abuse too much because you'll deck yourself out. It'll be potentially 6 or 8 cards, but the other function is that he's a 9, potentially 10 or 11k attacker, 13 with 1-drop Leviathan, and that's ridiculous for water. That's just a huge, huge brave forward. And he gets cheaper if you've got Yuna and Lenne on the field, so he can be a potential 4-drop. I'm going to go on to the summons now, in which there are 10. I'll start cheap. We've got 3 1-drop Leviathans. This is to protect Cecil from massive forwards. It's to protect Yuna if she's crashing into something. It doesn't offer great value if your opponent is playing water as well, but not a lot of people are playing water because the meta decks are all mono fire, mono lightning, you know, stuff like that. So this deck does really, really good against it with the legendary Cecil and the Minwu. But it's a good card. I like it, and I think it's kind of essential if you're playing the legendary Cecil, unless you're playing it with Earth, in which case you'll have golems and monks to protect it. So next is 3 3-drop Leviathans. Great card, and it's basically just a solution to big problems like Prish, like big blockers that are really annoying, potentially Vayne. We can't break them, we have no real break effects, we have no damage effects, so all we can really do is swing with our forwards and hope that they throw stuff under the bus, or play Leviathan and hope that we return their problem to hand. Now we go on to the summons that you dig for with Lenne. So we have 3 Bahamuts, 1 Odin. Again, the Odin is there in case you lose a Bahamut early, or it goes to damage zone, or you have to discard it. There's still like another target for you to search for that's not like a cheap water summon. But the key strategy of the deck is to use Yuna and Lenne to dig out a Bahamut and just set your opponent behind, try and keep him behind with Ultimecia and Leviathan. I'm not worried about playing 3 of Bahamut because we have the Yaag to filter the copies that we draw back into the deck. But it seems to work really, really well. You could play more, you could tailor this deck to just have strong summons from other elements, but I think that's too reliant on one strategy. So another controversial card choice is the Wakka. Gives you a water forwards plus 1,000. Again, protection for Cecil, protection for Yuna. It makes things bigger, especially if you're crashing into your opponent a lot. A lot of people will want to play the starter Wakka just because of stats reels, but I just feel like it's more consistent to have that like low level power than it is to maybe have like a very, very strong S ability in your hand. I wouldn't consider playing start Wakka in this deck. I think this kind of does a bit too much for all the other cards. 2 Minwu, again offering protection for Cecil because he must block. It means that if they're willing to 2 for 1, the Cecil can survive because he's taking non-lethal damage each time, providing that their power is less than his. We do try and get him to 11k, potentially 13k with Leviathan, so the Minwu really, really helps, but the actual effect of it is kind of nullified by the legendary Cecil, which makes sure that you don't take damage from opponents' summons or abilities. Really awkward card to include, but I've done it more for like a local meta sense, is Shuyin. It's basically a Leviathan for forwards that cost 3 or less, but he's a backup. This is mostly to deal with cheap blockers like Odin and Cagnazzo, but it's not essential. I think I discarded it every time I played, but I do think it kind of has a place in the deck, but only really as a one-off. Scholar is the next 3 of, just because I feel like it's essential to combo decks. You only have 3 of each card maximum in the deck, and if you lose them early, you kind of want to protect the ones that you've got left. So the Scholar helps with that. So in potential threatening situations, you can just return him to hand, or her to hand. But it's a 2-drop. There's a lot of 2-drops here because we kind of want to establish our backups really quickly so that we can start playing combos. Especially because a lot of our forwards are going to be breaking themselves, like potentially Lenne, potentially Yuna. Cecil will have a target on his back. We've got 2 Geomancers that will help you not draw the summons that you don't want to draw, like Bahamut and Odin. So at the end of your opponent's main phase 2, you dull, you look at the top card, if it's a summon you put it in the bottom, and then you hope in your draw phase you don't draw one. But it's a very, very strong function for the deck, but again, it's not essential. Don't play it as a 3 of, it's probably just a 2 of. Next up is White Mage. Again, another slight medical because there's a lot of ice here. There's a lot of like fire that does water kicks and stuff like that. So it really, really helps in those scenarios, especially for like Ammon. Ammon's a big one because with Ammon they'll just try and take your biggest offensive or defensive threat out of it. So the White Mage will really, really help. 2 Yaag Rosch, just to offer some level of protection for the Minwu. It's really only for the 8-drop Sephiroth, which no one plays, and Archer, because it can't do stuff to Heka, but because Minwu is so essential to keeping Cecil alive, we kind of want to have the Yaag there for protection. Again, it's a 2-drop water backup, which helps us establish a lot of backups early because we're not having to invest a lot in them. But again, it's a non-essential. When Opus 3 comes out, I'm sure there'll be better backups and more essential backups that you would play in this sort of setup. And 3 Astrologian, choose one forward, activate it. It's really cool. Again, there's a lot of decks that will play things like Legendary Renoa and stuff like that. We'll throw her under the bus, and all of a sudden, everything that you were going to attack or defend with is gone. So having the Astrologian there is really, really handy. Although it does feel a little pricey if you have to discard from hand to untap. But I'd play it as a 3 of. Again, more 2-drop backups because. Okay, and that's everything. If you could let us know if there's any suggestions, anything that you do differently, anything you are doing differently, please post in the comments. And thank you for watching. Cheers.